The wheels are still 17, but this new pattern now is called a tomahawk, much like a tomahawk steak. Man, I'm hungry. You can change the steering dynamic from the infotainment system. Truth be told, it's responsive and aggressive. That's the best way to describe the engine. Breaking into the Philippine automotive market is no small feat. There are so many established players there already that are keen to keep the market on their side. So if you want a seat at the table, you gotta bring a little something. Now, when MG launched back in 2018 with the ZS, they did. They had a familiarly good-looking car, both inside and, well, most especially out, a price tag of under 1 million Philippine pesos, and a 5-year warranty, which means the cars that you bought then are still covered till today. Now, it wasn't all a bed of roses, but the car did shoot to fame, and MG's sales of the ZS went through the roof. Last year alone, they sold over 1,600 units. Now, this 2022 model, which is the ZST, has a few updates, which is an understatement really, when we get around to telling you about the tech inside and what's under the hood. It's launched, and during our first review, mind you, we denied not that it, well, resembled a CX-5. And then about a year ago, we pitted it against what we believe to be its rival, the Geely Coolrib. And if you'd like to see that video, click right here. Now, since then, a lot can and has happened really in a span of a year. For instance, the LED lights and DRLs are much sleeker in shape. So too are the fog lamps found down below. The grille has a new pattern called this obsidian matrix, and the fall skid plate is back from the dentist with cavities sorted out. Now, the side profile remains generally unchanged. You've got roof rails up on top as before, repeaters on the side mirror, and 164 millimeters of ground clearance. You still have disc brakes all around, but now the beauty is the calipers have a hint of color, which is absolutely great on this automobile, especially when it's all black. And the wheels are still 17, but this new pattern now is called a tomahawk, much like a tomahawk steak. Man, I'm hungry. The beauty about this is that the rubber is now thicker. Previously it was 50 series, now you're looking at a 55 series tire, which means it just looks so much better at filling the wells in, doesn't it? Now, the body lines at the rear, especially for the top half, remain roughly unchanged. Even the tail light shape is exactly the same. What differs is the pattern inside. These LEDs now make the car look a little bit sleeker. The bottom half, the bumper, is a little bit wider, especially here at the corners. Then there's less chrome. You now only have chrome on the exhaust tips, which are fake, by the way, because this is the type of car that you can tell its orientation as it's walking away from you. Mazel tov, it's a boy. Now, you flip the logo, and this is actually pretty cool. This is one of my favorite things here, is that the fact that you've got 350 liters of space. Why is it my favorite? Well, look at the size of the automobile. Without touching the backrests of the second row, I can increase the luggage capacity to about 450 liters. That's without touching that. Now, I'm not saying it's a direct fight against, let's say, the Fortuner, the Montero, or the MUX, or MUX, depending how you say it. But the fact that without even touching anything, it increases to that much, considering the size of the car, I think that's kind of impressive. Then, obviously, when you fold the second row, you're looking at over 1,100 liters of space. How do you like them apples? Its biggest change would be found at its heart. Now, the previous generation had a 1.5 liter engine. This time around, the MG ZST, has a 1.3 liter turbo mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission that produces 40 more horsepower and 70 more Newton meters of torque in a smaller displacement engine. You gotta love that turbo. Now, fuel efficiency, hear me out. This car doesn't actually have all its shots yet, so we actually couldn't take it out on the highway as promised to our partners MG Congressional, which is part of the Grand Canyon Group. If you'd like to check out their YouTube page, their information are on the links below. So back to fuel efficiency, inside the city at about 25 kilometers per hour, we were doing about 10.5 kilometers per liter, which if you think about it, if you base it on what we received on the previous model, it's just about par, considering that the tires on this guy are thicker. So on the top end of things, on the highway, you should be able to best even 16 kilometers per liter. Space at the rear is still great, thank goodness. That's my normal driving position, and check out the amount of leg room that I have. That's actually pretty plenty. Elbow room is great for 2 adults. A third, yeah, you can fit. The tunnel isn't that high, but still it might be a little uncomfortable, but I guess for short trips, then I guess nobody would mind. Toys back here include 2 air vents found up front and 2 USB charging points. Unfortunately, there is no center armrest with cup holders, but you do have bottle holders on either side. And the bottle holders, I must add, are actually pretty darn big. This is Jack's canteen, and it's a 32-ounce canteen, and it's pretty wide, and it does fit. It's a bit tight, but hey, it fits nonetheless. Then there's also the fact that for the rear passengers, you get to share in the beautiful panoramic roof that the car has. And if you think that it might get hot because of the glass on top, well, that's why you've got air vents up front. Up front, still the same shapes, but definitely a somewhat different layout. There is no other way to describe it except the fact that it's much neater, it's much more refined. Touches of refinement can be found all around, and tech too, starting with a full digital instrument cluster with a large trip computer in the center. You've got buttons on the flat bottom steering wheel that control your trip and audio, a stock for your cruise, which I like, and a 10.1-inch infotainment screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, something that the Coolray doesn't have, not to mention a 360-degree camera along with parking sensors, and new software and graphics that hover above beautifully brushed toggles. The power leather seats, red stitching all around, and even the short shifter add premium to the overall experience. Now, the glass roof may not be a want by all consumers, but it undeniably adds class. There is a bit of a learning curve when it comes to the tech. See, I'm trying to operate the Air, and I found that the quickest way to operate it would be to turn it on via the toggle found down below. Obviously, it's already on now, and then control it through the infotainment screen. So you might want to set these things before you actually get off, especially if you're a new driver. Now, I also found that there are a lot of materials inside the cabin, my favorite of which is this. Unfortunately, this carbon fiber looking leather type material is actually the most shy of them all. There's predominantly the flat leather that you can find all around. Now actually it's great. The red stitching, as I mentioned, even the non-offensive, non-radical logo of MG is actually quite nice. But it's just that I think that this leather here could have been well used had they put it on the steering wheel as well. Because the material here is okay, but I feel as if it, well, lacks a little bit of help. Oh, and speaking of help, we would definitely appreciate a subscription from you and a like as well to this video, so we know in the future the kind of videos to create just for you. Now, we've made no secret that the previous 1.5 liter inside this automobile was basically just average inside the city and a little bit lacking on the highway. Truth be told, it felt as if that every once in a while you wanted to stand on the accelerator just to get the car going, or even keep up with the speeding pack. Or sometimes you'd be like rocking forward and back in your seat just to help the car go along. That was in the past. This time around, with the 1.3 liter and its turbo, is something completely different. Truth be told, it's responsive and aggressive. That's the best way to describe the engine. Or another way could be that it's like a dog that's been home all this time, and you open the front door and you let it out free. It's going nuts. That's what the engine feels like, and it feels great because it's so young, it's so spirited. Even if it's a 1.3 liter, that turbo really changes everything. And it's so much fun, to a point where it could be at fault, or it could be driver error. I'll let you decide. See, what it is that I've been driving this car for about 4 days now. And the first day and a half, I gotta be honest with you, it felt as if that I was riding the brake, especially now that I'm in traffic. Because in stop and go, it wants to leap forward, it wants to jump. That's probably because the turbo kicks in at such a low rev. So there's, like I said, a learning curve to it. But truth be told, I'll take it because, you know, when you finally get out of the city and hit the highway, that turbo should be a lot of fun. NVH has improved by a little bit. It's a notch above respectable inside the city, even with a glass roof. So that's cool. The ride quality is a little bit better thanks to the thicker tires. So it's that much more comfortable. And then, of course, your view is unimpeded. Getting into the driving position that you need it to be won't be a problem thanks to power seats. Unfortunately, there is no telescopic function for the steering wheel, just up and down. That being said though, this thing has actually some pretty cool tech in it because you can change the steering dynamic from the infotainment system from dynamic to normal to urban depending on how you feel on that particular day. So yeah, tech, excellent. I guess a question that a lot of people might have because of this glass roof is how does the air condition function? Does it cool the car off properly? Well, I'll tell you this much. It is October, so it's not the dead of summer, so I can't tell you if it does function properly or not. But I am comfortable inside the automobile. The sun is actually out today, and I'm pretty comfortable inside the car. Now, is the air conditioning system cold enough for a penguin to live in here? Or for these things to cut glass? No, I don't think so. But I think it's, well, respectable in here is what it is. Yeah, it's not warm. You can tell that the glass is warm, but inside the cabin it's not warm. It's, like I said, respectable. And even the rear passengers should be okay because, like I said before, there are vents back there. The 2022 MG ZST is available at 1,158,888 pesos. Now at that price, it's actually 40,000 Philippine pesos more affordable than even the lower variant top tier of the GT Coolray. So it seems as if MG wants to keep their seat at the table. And to be honest with you, it looks like they're doing a great job at it.